go ahead and get started. Um, super excited for this call. I know this is a call that's at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. PST, or from wherever you're tuning in from. Let me know in the chat box where you're tuning in from. I know today, this is something that we were able to let you guys know a couple hours ago, and it's exciting because we have 57 people on the call that are taking advantage of today's call, and make sure that it's not too late. So today we have somebody very special for everyone, every single one of you guys here from wherever you got the link. This is something that's very, very, very exciting. And it's going to be a really good session where you're going to be able to learn from an individual that's been doing this for a very long time. Somebody I've been able to see just do things over and over and over and over and over. And really the best example of being consistent. So do not, shy away from sending this link out to everybody you guys know, because this is open, right? As you guys know, we've opened it up to Powerhouse University. And anybody who got the link is just open up to you. So take advantage of this, because calls like this aren't usually just like public like these. They're not just like free like these. But we decided to do it because we understand that right now people need access to information about the markets and how to scale, how to become profitable more than ever before. And that's why we decided to do this on this amazing, amazing Wednesday, guys. I've been in the game for 5 years myself. And since the beginning of my journey in trading in the markets, I've been able to see the individual we're going to be learning from today. Like I said, be super consistent, but also be an example that is possible. Her story is super powerful. I've been able to hear it over and over again, but I want to let you guys know that today, the information you're going to be getting, do not take it lightly, because it's something that you're going to be able to take it and honestly apply it. That's at least the mission here, right? Like put a 7 in the chat if you want to take the information and actually apply it, right? Because that's super key. A lot of people hop on today's call and they're like, oh, I'm going to be on the call. I'm going to listen in. And that's about it. And don't really apply it, right? But I'm here to let you guys know. Number one, if you want to be the most focused you can be, I would highly recommend to have your camera on. That's going to help you be focused. I promise you, if you have your camera on, like it naturally makes you more focused because everybody's seeing, right? So you're focused. Number two is have a pen and paper. Make sure to take notes. You don't have to take notes about everything that's being talked about, but take the notes that hit you to the heart that you needed to hear. Like they say, right? If it stings, it's for you. And number three, like I said before, make sure you're applying and have some action steps after this call to take it and do something with that. So, like I said, guys, today you guys are going to be learning and hearing from Nina Santiago, an individual that's been in the markets for many, many years. She's been able to teach thousands and thousands and thousands of people. She's been able to speak on stages. She was being able to be, honestly, just an example, like I said earlier, that it's possible. And I'm here to let you guys know that that's sometimes all you need. It's just a testimonial, an example, a mission, some sort of vision that it is possible to go from knowing nothing to knowing something to knowing more than average person to then being like the top 1% in the markets. And this is an individual that is the example of that. So with saying that, guys, definitely turn on your camera if possible, stay focused, have your pen and ready, paper ready, and make sure to not take this lightly and send this out if needed, because it's still a good timing. So with saying that, Nina, I appreciate the time you're taking. Honestly, you're coming on this call, not having to be on today's call, to just give out and be able to give people information that can change your situation in the markets and help them scale. And I appreciate you, and I'll let you take it away.
Thank you so much, Gail. I appreciate you. Thank you for reaching out. It's always fun when we could do calls together. So thank you, Gil, for trusting me with your community, with individuals that, are ready to take their trading to a new level, are ready to hit new levels inside of the markets. And, you got to appreciate your leaders when they bring on other people to help you guys really scale in your life, in your areas of where you need to be scaled in. So thank you for trusting me to be here with all of you guys. And thank you, Gil, for, it's an honor to be here with you and your team. So I appreciate you guys so much. If you don't know me, my name is Nina. And I have been trading in the markets for about 7 years. Now I'm heading into 8 years inside of the markets. And Gil told me two powerful topics that he wants me to teach you guys on. One is the psychology, right? Psychology is your mindset inside of the markets. And that means through good and bad market conditions, your mindset can adjust based off of your emotional and mental state inside of the markets. Sorry, guys. I apologize. One of my trades are hitting TP, so sorry about that. But Let's mute that so that's not in our way anymore. So really quickly, just so you guys understand that mindset's really important. Your psychology of how you handle the markets are going to be really important through different seasons, through different conditions, through different mental and emotional states. So I think what I preach, and I've preached for a long time, is not just short-term success, but long-term success. What does that look like, right? Because you can have a great week, you can have a bad week. Doesn't determine though what your month will look like. It doesn't determine what your quarter would look like, and it's not going to determine what your year is going to look like. But sometimes we're so focused on the short term that we lose track of the long term. We lose track of where we are long term, and that is very easy to do inside of markets that move as volatile as we know these markets to do. So mindset is really, really important. Your psychology is really, really important. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, because how do you conquer something that you're human, right? Everybody's here is human, right? Nobody's AI. I'm not seeing an AI face on the other side of the screen. Everybody here is human. Nobody is a robot, right? So nobody's a robot. We are all human, and we all have emotions. We all have lives. We all have things that happen to us day to day. And in those moments, you got to know how to really help yourself grow or help yourself get out of those things. So, your mindset is going to be really, really important. So I always tell people, always think of the long term, not the short term. Okay. So you could be having a bad week. Doesn't mean that you have to finish off in a bad week. What this does, guys, is you have to know, and I'm going to teach you guys not just words that I'm going to tell you on how to deal with yourself, but I'm going to teach you guys techniques and skill sets that equate to help your mindset in those states, right? Because it's so easy to say it. And trust me, I was one of those people when I first started trading and was like, there's no way I'm gonna get this. Like, there's no way. I like over leveraging sometimes. I was on this winning streak. Anybody been on a winning streak and they've used the proper risk management, and then you get on this winning streak and all of a sudden you're like, I've been doing so good that I need to make a little bit more money, and you you increase that lot size, and that one time you go to increase your lot size, it's like, really, you had to hit stop loss that one time. I was doing so good. I was on a hot streak, and it was like, oh no, time to increase. And it was like, oh, got me, right? And it doesn't feel good, because it's like that one time you built the confidence up to increase your lot size to say, man, I'm doing good. And then it's like, stop loss hit, right? We all been there. Like, I don't think you've traded if there's no way you traded in the markets if you haven't been there. There's no way, because I'm telling you right now, we all go through the similar things, right? Mentally, because we're human, right? So what I will tell you is there's a couple things that'll help build up into your profitability, into your mentality, into your consistency. And there's two major things that a lot of people, it's the boring stuff that gets us actually really, really paid, right? It's the boring stuff that gets us paid. It's something called a trading plan. And what that is you ever started, do you think anybody that actually has a successful business starts a business with no plan? No, right? If they plan on being successful, you got to plan it out, right? I have a friend of mine, her husband does bodybuilding. He plans out from what he eats to the time he eats to the time he goes to the gym, what workouts he's going to be doing. Like, everything is planned out, and that's why he's successful in that, right? If you work out, those are things that you want to plan out in order to get to the results that you want. So a trading plan is just a plan that is listed in the most detail of all of your rules. So that means your risk management rules. That means how big your stop losses are going to be, your risk to reward ratios, how many pips, how many losses are you willing to take in the markets, what percentage are you going to risk on your accounts. All of these things, your strategy, your breakdown of your confirmations before you get into a trade. You want to know your confirmations before you just jump on in, right? Because those tend to build you up to build the confidence. And I always speak of this in a way that when you look at it, there it is. When you look at it, you want this to be in detail, okay? In detail, and I'm talking risk management, what strategy confirmations you're following. That's going to be one big thing, because if you're not, and I tell everybody, write it down, because if you don't write it down, you don't really create the habit and you don't ever apply the habit. So you want to write down your strategy confirmations, your rules, your risk management, how many losses are you going to take in a week, in a day? How many losses are you going to take before you walk away from the markets, before you say, hey, enough is enough? You got to know these things, because without those things, you don't really have a plan, and the markets are very, very tempting almost all the time. They're very tempting all the time. I mean, think about it. We see the markets as a money. Like, okay, we can make money. We can make money. We can make money. It's unlimited, the amount of money we can make. And we see that part, but we don't see how do we get to that part where we can make withdrawals consistently, where we can make actual money and become a little bit more free in this space. So trading plan is one thing that if you don't have it, write it down, make one, print it out, do what you need to do so that you can create the right habits, so that when you are approaching these markets, because there are hundreds of different markets you could be in, there's a lot of different pairs you could trade at different volumes at different times. So you always want to put yourself in a place of control. Self-control is what a trading plan does. It creates self-control. And the more that you can learn to develop the habits to create self-control, the better your account is going to be long term. Now, you can have losses. I'm not saying you're not going to lose, but it's how you're losing, right? You want to know your risk to reward ratios. You want to know what does your strategy do? How accurate is it? When you are taking these confirmations, check in and check out, right? 1, 2, 3, it's check, check, check. I'm taking this trade because it aligns up. I'm going to do this risk management, this risk to reward. What does that look like long term? Are you 70% accurate? Are you 60% accurate? And don't look at those accuracy numbers like that's bad, because it's actually really good. Inside the markets, you could be 50% accurate. If you got the right risk to reward ratio, you can even go under 50% accurate. And you want to know these things because the more you build your confidence. Now, I want you to think about this, because it's a pivotal thing in my mindset that I had to change, because I was somebody who, and I hate to admit this, but I'm going to, and I always admit it, but I was somebody who didn't use stop losses when I first started trading, because I thought it'll eventually go my way. It eventually goes my way. And there's no strategic plan inside of trading if you don't use a stop loss. I'm just letting you guys know that right now, right here. I hurt a lot of feelings when I say this, but I'm just trying to help you guys. If you don't use a stop loss inside of the markets, you're not going to have an account for very long. It's just how the markets play, especially in the markets we're in, because they buy and they sell. So I had to figure out, how do I accept my losses? How do I come to a place where I can accept losses? How can I come to a place where I can see the bigger vision? Because it felt good to win and it felt terrible to lose. But because I never wanted to lose, I would lose my whole account. And I never looked at it that way. Ever, ever. Never looked at it like I was losing my whole account. I always looked at it like, this is going to work out. It's just going to go. And if it doesn't, I'm just going to deposit more money and we'll be fine and we'll do it again. And that was the definition of insanity until I fixed it, right? So the trading plan is what took me from being mediocre in trading to actually being profitable. Now, what is profitable to you guys? What do you think when you hear the word profitable? Because profitable thinks is a different term for everybody. But when I say profitable inside the markets, what do you think? What do you think? Like, when you think profitability, right? You think of consistent wins. Yep. You think they're like more than 50%. Withdrawing, right? Withdrawing discipline, right? Wins, bigger wins than losses, income, right? Right. So when you think of the words profitability, right? It's not how much money you can make in the markets. It's how much you can keep in the markets. So it's not always how much money you can make. It's about, hey, at the end of the week, how much money did I actually keep from the markets? Because I could have been up X amount on Monday and Tuesday, but then Wednesday came and that amount kind of like tumbled a little bit, right? So it's not how much money you can make. Making money is great. It's amazing. I've seen people make money in the wrong ways. I've seen people not have a strategy and make money. I've seen people gamble in the markets and they've made money. I've seen people do very different things, but very few people can actually keep the money that they make. they can actually keep it long term to be able to withdraw it, to be able to have some type of experience with the money that they're making in the market. So when I think of profitability, I think of the withdrawals that I'm able to continuously make. And I think of the outcome of what my gains are long term. The outcome long term. So your trading plan helps you get to a place of where it'll create disciplined habits so that you can get consistent, so that you can become profitable. But you also got to know in all of this, you got to make withdrawals. So if you don't have a withdrawal plan inside of your trading plan, your plan isn't complete. Your plan is not complete if you do not have a withdrawal plan inside of that. All right. So so you have to understand that trading plans are something that's really, really important because think about this. If you knew, right? Because I didn't like losing. Some people on here don't like losing. Some people are okay with losing. Some people are on the same page as me. They're like, no, I don't like losing. Okay. If you don't like losing, what you have to learn is what does the outcome of your strategy actually look like? What does that look like statistically? How many wins do you take in a week, in a month? Long term, what does that look like? Maybe you win 7 out of 10 of your trades. Well, now you know that. That's amazing that you know that. And then from there, you got to then realize what are you risking and what is your reward at the end of it. Because the reason that I didn't want to lose is because I was always in the shock factor of when I lost. I was always in the, oh my God, see, I lost and then it went my way. And then I would stop talking to yourself like that. Stop talking to yourself to say, oh, I lost and then it went my way. Oh, this happened and then it did this. You got to develop your skill a little bit sharper in those situations where your entries got to get a little bit better in those situations. So there's something else I'm going to tell you guys. It's a journal. It's a trading journal. There's two things that you need to really identify this journey so that you can develop the right things. And a trading journal is just documenting your trades. They're just documenting the trades that you have so that you can go back and when you're back testing, you can see, okay, where could I sharpen my tools? How can I get better? Is it entry? Is it stop loss? Is it my risk to reward? Is it my exits aren't hitting too frequently and too often? Maybe they're going a little bit to my TPs and then turning around. Those are all things you'll start to notice your habits when you're documenting your trades and you're going back and you're looking at the trades that you documented. So the reason I'm telling you guys that is because when you're looking at your trade journal, you got to give it as much detail as possible. So, like me, I'm a mom of two kids. If my kids drive me absolutely insane that day and I go into the charts, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to make an error. Like, I'm not mentally clear to actually look at the markets, and I'm trying to force something in the midst of me being emotionally stressed, maybe overstimulated is what I like to call it. You know, kids can make you very overstimulated some days, and that's okay. But you get very overwhelmed in your mind, and then you try to go to a chart to make money. Well, if you want to live off this full time, you better take a break and say, you know what, I'm going to give myself a minute. I'm going to give myself some time, and then I'll go look at the charts on this time. But you have to know what mental state you're in when you're getting inside of your trades. So I always tell people in your trade journal, don't just document where you entered, where your stop loss, where your TPs are. Also document how did you feel? Like, where was your mental state? What was going on that day? Were you in a rush to go to work and you hurried up and got in a trade? Because you got to know that about yourself. Were you busy or stressed or life happened and you were just like, I have to trade right now? Like, you have to really think about what environment are you in as you're trading, because that could be the piece. It might not be your strategy. Some people always think that they're losing inside of their trades because of their strategy. Oh, the strategy doesn't work now. It literally could be your environment is what is creating you to push yourself to get into trade ideas that you normally wouldn't have gotten in had you followed your strategy. But because you're overwhelmed in your mind, you jump into these things. And we've all done it. I've done it too. So the next thing I'm going to tell you guys is the big word that I like to say is this right here. Because this one I think like is a hot button for a lot of people, but accountability. What is accountability? I gotta say this, guys, because until I became honest with myself and I held myself accountable for the things that I was doing inside the markets, I really didn't see, and that's two C's. I don't know why I didn't do it, but there you go. I don't know. I guess it wants to keep it at 1C. But accountability is something that you really have to take on. And sometimes it's not your broker. Anybody ever blame the broker? Me. I used to blame the broker. Sorry, guys. It's the broker. They did it to me. They're doing something. At the end of the day, you can only control what you can control. That's why I'm saying that, because you don't own the brokerage, right? So you can't control them. I can't control them. You can't control them. I don't own them. So I can't control them. And I would blame them all the time. I would blame, what else would I used to blame? I used to blame it's spread, it's this, it's that. I mean, anything you could think of. Like, from top to bottom. If you've said it, I probably said it too. Like, oh, it's this, it's that. We've all done that, right? And this is the truth, right? The truth is you can't control certain things. Certain things are just out of your control inside of the space, right? You don't own the brokerage, so you don't control the spreads. You don't control what they're going to do inside of it, right? So how does somebody continue to make money even with these real things, right? So accountability was one of my biggest things that I had to learn to turn the point the finger back at myself and say, Nina, okay, if you cannot control certain things inside the market, then you need to have a plan on how you're going to handle the market. So let's say spread, for example. Let's just say spread. You got one of two options when it comes to that being a blame factor. Spread, it'll tell you how many pips you're from your ask price to your bid price. You now know that if it's barely missing your TPs because of spread, or it's barely getting your sell limits or buy limits in place because of spread, because you know that broker now because you've been practicing, you now just inch up your numbers so that it will cover the spread. You just inch up. If it's 5 pips, you move your TP just 5 more pips up so that you cover yourself in those situations. Same thing with sell limits and buy limits. I used to do pending orders a lot, and it would irritate me to the point that I was like, why? Why? It's like right there and it goes my way. So I would move my spread a little bit down. Another thing that you can do is learn yourself. Is anybody impatient in here? Anybody's gotten impatient where you're like, you just know the market's going to do what you want it to do, but then you just kind of jump in the markets because you're like, man, it's going to sell. Like, I'm watching this, it's going to sell. I'm watching gold, she's going to buy. I'm watching this one, it's going to do this. Like, you just know it's doing that. It's doing that. Like, you just for sure know, like, it's going to buy, it's going to sell, right? You just know it. But instead of you actually waiting for it to get to your zone or waiting for you to say, you know what, is it really confirming that for me? You're like, man, I know this is going to sell. I got to go to work. And man, I know this is going to sell. I got to go get my kids real quick. I know this is going to sell. I got to get in the shower. I got to go do stuff. And you're just like, sell. And then it hits stop. And then you want to punch it because of what your way after his stop, right? Those are things that our impatience does, right? Impatience does that, right? Impatient, our ability as a human, the impatience factor. I'm very impatient. Don't see me on the road, guys. I am one of those, like, not too bad road rage. Like, I ain't gonna do nothing too crazy, but I'll explode just a little bit. So, like, I'm just that person that's very, like, short tempered, short. Like, my switch is like this, and I'm not like that all the time. But there's just certain things that'll make me tick, and I feel like my switch is very little. Trading did that, right? So my accountability was, Nina, you're impatient, so you got to learn a little bit of patience. How do I learn patience? Knowing what I know is how help me learn patience. Knowing that I know that this is going to go to this area, so let me not stare at the chart like this, because if I do, I'm just going to hit the button. I know that I'm waiting for a level. I started doing pending orders, and I started doing alert levels, because I know it's going to hit that area. I know. So I need to start putting some alerts as it's approaching that area. So instead of me just jumping right in because of my impatience, I'm saying, let me put my alerts so I don't stare here at the monitor and be like, because the more I stare, the more I'm going to want to hit the button. The more I sit there and be like, man, I know she's just going to sell. I know she's going to go. I know she's going to go. Oh, man, she's going to go. Oh, I can't wait 2 more minutes. Like, I can't wait five. I got to do this right now, right? So you got to take accountability in those situations. So there's a couple things that we could do. We could put alerts or we could put limit orders. Those are now solutions if you're a little impatient. So now just walk away from your computer so that you don't hit the button. You don't hit the button if you're impatient. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't hit the button if you're impatient, right? Not me doing this right now, right? It happens. It happens to the best traders, guys, make all of these errors. Just a little side note for y'all. The best ones make all of these happen. So it's okay. That just means you're on your way to greatness. That's all I can tell you guys. You guys are on your way to greatness when I speak of this. So you got to figure out what your ticks are. What mine's was being impatient. You got to find, are you rushing your trades because you are impatient? With your trading journal, when you're writing this stuff down, when you're writing where you're at, what happens is you start to learn habits, right? Because we're all creatures of habit, right? We're all individuals that we're used to patterns, right? We're used to that. Every single day we pick up patterns as humans. And that's how we create habits as humans too, because we do those same patterns over and over and over again. And there is ways to undo these patterns. And for me, if you got to learn yourself. So what I want you guys to do, today or tomorrow, but sometime this week when you have downtime, is I want you to just write out, like, what am I holding myself accountable for? Because there's certain things that I won't ever be able to control inside the markets. Like, there's just certain things that you can't control. Now, how can I still be profitable? How can I still be successful? How can I still be in a place where I can withdraw consistently? Because there's a lot of people that are winning. There's a lot of people that can withdraw. There's a lot of people. So clearly, there's nothing more special than me, than you. Like, I'm no more special than you guys are. So if I'm doing it, you can do it, right? I'm doing it, you can do it. So if I can do this, so I want y'all to write down some things that you feel like you could start holding yourself a little bit more accountable for inside of the markets whenever you're trading. So if you're like me, you don't like losing, let's start putting our stop loss. Let's start using risk to reward ratios. Why? Because when I understand how I'm losing and I realize in the long run at the end of the week, as long as my risk to reward was 1 to 2, 1 to 3, X, Y, and Z, I'm okay with losing, because then I started realizing I could be 60% accurate. I could be 50% accurate, and my profit gains would still be 30% at the end of the week. So I'm still positive even through my losses. And I started to realize trading, making money is a lot different than when I'm used to the pattern of how I used to make money at work. I made money at work by clocking in and being on a set time of making X amount of dollars an hour. So I understood that process of how money worked. But I understood how when you take a test to be 90%, that's passing, right? 80%, 90%, those are the grades you had to get in order to be at a certain level in passing. So we're so used to when we're losing, it has to be that we're not good. Right? That's our program mind in everything, in sports and anything, right? You don't make it to the Super Bowl, if you don't even make it to the playoffs, if you don't win a certain amount of games. So you got to win more than you lose, even in sports. So if you ever play sports, we're conditioned this way our whole life. So, but when it comes to trading, what we have to reevaluate is, how much am I losing? How much am I making? And when I started to change the way that I thought about that, what happened was I started making money. Is really what started happening. Like, and that anxiety that I used to get about losing, it started to go away, because now I built a strategic plan around how I win. A strategic plan around how you win is how you get profitable. If you don't know what your risk reward is inside of majority of your trades, you're never going to feel comfortable losing. If you don't know your risk management that you're going to be doing inside of your trades, you're never going to get comfortable with losing. You're just never going to be comfortable. If you don't understand that when you get into a trade, that your reward is double or triple in profit that you're going to make versus what you're going to lose, you're never going to think losing is okay. And what happens is you'll start to create bad habits, like I did, no stop loss and things like that. So there's two major things to help you with that developed mindset. And it's your trading plan and your trading journal. Because what we're going to do is we're going to undo a lot of bad habits that we do, and then we're going to redo a lot of good habits. So what you're going to do is, as your homework is, you're going to start taking some accountability. What do I do inside of the trading? One thing I used to do, guys, very bad. I would not mark up before I get into trades. And I would just hit buy or sell because the candle was just moving that way. Don't judge me, but it's true. That was me when I first started trading. I thought that's what trading was. I was out here gambling like crazy. Like, yeah, sure. Like I woke up, I'm addicted to this. Boom. We're gonna that so I had to learn because I started writing down my trades. I started seeing, Nina, if you don't mark up, why are you in the markets? Like, what are you doing? You're not even coming with a game plan. You're just like, hey, I'm in here, right? That doesn't work. That's gambling, guys. That's gambling to the 1,000%. If you're not having a plan, that's gambling. So I want you guys to figure out some things that you guys are doing that may be an error. And I want you then to attach that error with a skill that you can develop. Okay? So when you're writing down your journals, I'll tell you. So I'll give you some examples. So like when you're writing down in your journal, what you're looking at, whatever trade you're doing, right? Whatever confirmations you're following to get into those trades, and you followed it through. You're going to find out if you actually are following it through, number one. But you're going to find out, okay, I did not follow the confirmations is what's going to happen when you start doing this. When you start writing your journaling down and you're going back and you're looking at it and you realize I only followed 2 out of 3 confirmations. Well, there's your problem. We got a solution, right? If I didn't follow all of my confirmations, what would be the solution for me to do next time? What do y'all think would be a solution? So that's the problem. I didn't follow my confirmations and I lost that trade. What do you think would be a solution to not following your confirmations? What would be a solution to that? They're like, Nina, don't ask me no questions. And now in my trading journal, when I write down that checklist of I'm going to do this, 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 and this, whatever it is, whether it's 3 or 4, then you're going to say to yourself, I'm going to follow my checklist of confirmations, right? So I'm going to write a checklist down. I used to do sticky notes. Crazy, call me crazy if you want, but it made me successful in the habits. I used to do sticky notes because I would have my I didn't have a desktop at the time. I had a laptop. I would have a piece of paper like this filled with my trading plan, and I would put it in the middle like a sandwich in my laptop. So I knew when I opened it that I would look at it, and I was like, "Oh, Nina, there you go." And I started developing the right habits to the point that you're not going to need it. And then I started seeing in my journal, I would put stickies on things that I wasn't doing. Like when I wasn't following my confirmations, okay, Nina, follow your confirmations. Now make a confirmation checklist and put it on a sticky right there on your desktop, your laptop, wherever you're trading from. Put that sticky right there. If you're not marking up and you know that you're not marking up, you're just throwing yourself in trades. Guess what? I am not going to get in a trade unless I marked up. If you are being impatient with your trades, say, you know, I'm going to start. Understand. Girl, mind your business, Siri. Siri's a cop. She all of my business. But if I'm not in a trade or I'm in a place where I'm trading a lot and I'm over trading and I'm realizing that because now I'm writing it down, guess what I'm going to say? Okay, Nina, you're going to take about X to this amount of trades a week, which would be this percentage. After you lose that percentage or make this percentage, you're done. Call me cuckoo. Is my husband on the line? I did this. Like if I lost, I won't say, all right, if I lost 10% that week, I was done. If I gained 30% that week, I was done. And that could have been by Tuesday, Wednesday. It could have been, but I was done. I can still mark up and chart and get my skills sharpened, but I was done. Because you got to limit yourself on what you're risking and how often, because the more trade you put inside of the markets, the more times you're putting yourself at risk in the markets. That's the truth. And in that truth means that if you're over trading, you got to limit yourself. So you got to create rules to say, you know what, if I'm at this percentage, I'm going to walk away. As hard as that may feel some days, because very hard, especially if you're up in X amount of percentage. You're like, man, I'm up 40%. I could go to 60. I could get that to 60, and then you start thinking of the dollar amounts, and now you're just going backwards. So you got to know when to cut yourself off. All right. So I want you guys to figure out in this moment, what is it that you need to do inside the market? If you're impatient, put alerts. If you know, like, hey, look, I want it to get to this zone, and you know that that's your zone, I use a UCAD. Let's say the zone is 1.39750. That's where I know I want to sell her. Then I'm going to put alerts at 1.39600, so I know to come back and look at. So now I'm not here. I'm not over trading. I'm not tempting myself. Trading is very addicting. It's very much like, okay, get me paid right now. But that is how you do it. Now, profitability is how you keep your money, right? All of us want to keep money. So the goal long term with profitability is this. First, you got to get a strategy, right? You got to know a strategy. So in that strategy, you got to get consistent because my strategy is 93% accurate to me. But somebody following it for the first time might be like 60% accurate. So they got to learn their consistency. They got to learn, and accuracy comes from discipline. Surprise, surprise. How disciplined are you to be patient enough to wait for your confirmations? And then the more you wait for your confirmations, the more consistent you get at it, and the more accurate you start to get at that. So I want you guys to know that your strategy, when you're learning it, you got to see how consistent you are in it. Once you get that consistency flowing, you start to develop what we call a trading plan, right? And once you get the trading plan going, now you're going to start to create the right habits, right? The right risk management plan, the right, hey, this is what I'm following. And then you're going to know, when am I cutting myself off when I win, and when am I cutting myself off when I lose. And when you get there, when you get to that place, long-term success looks a lot easier, don't you think? So if I know I'm 70% accurate trader, but I catch on average 400 pips, 200 pips, 100 pips, whatever. If I know that I'm a 70% accurate trader, I catch on average 200 pips, my R to R is always over 1 to 2. I follow my risk management plan. I follow my money management plan, moving my stop loss and profit, taking partials, doing all the fun things that we have to do. Now we are getting to a place where we're going to start to build that confidence. And when you're confident, I want y'all to be so confident. And I tell people this all the time. I want y'all to be so confident in your strategy and your consistency and your statistics. Statistics help you identify your strengths. Statistics will help you do that. So you got to figure out some stats on what you're doing and your strategy and the confirmation every single time. Because when you build that confidence, I'm going to tell you right now, the markets can't even convince me to change my strategy. When the markets can't convince you to change your strategy, you've gotten consistent enough where you know that I know at X, Y, and Z at the end, this is what it's going to look like. I had a bad week. Cool. I might have had not the best trading week. That's fine, because I know that by the end of the month, the end of the quarter, and the end of the year, this is where I'm going to be. Right? There's different market seasons and market conditions through those seasons. My strategy is time tested through statistics through every season. So I know what it's going to do. So if I have a 70% accurate month, I already know in my head, Nina, by the end of the year, you're going to be up in the 90% because you've never not done that by the end of the year for the last 7 years. So you know that you might just be having a rough month, and that's okay. But I also know when to cut my losses. I know when to cut my losses. I know when to, just walk away. And that's hard to do sometimes, but it's something that needs to be in your plan. And it's a habit that I developed and I created. Does that make sense? So your trading journal is going to help you understand your bad habits. And you got to start writing where you need to be accountable, and then find a solution skill set wise and for yourself mindset wise. Like, man, I can't sit in front of this computer, because if not, I'm going to keep doing this, and I know I should be walking away. So I want you guys to start identifying in your trading journals, whatever you're documenting, what habits are you creating that you're starting to notice? Man, I need a quiet environment in order for me to trade. That's a real thing for traders. Some traders cannot trade in noise and chaos. They really have to be in a quiet place. You got to know that about yourself, so that you know, hey, while I'm trading from this hour to this hour, whatever my schedule is, I need to be in a quiet room. Me, I started learning how to trade with a baby and crying. So it can be noisy as hell going on around me and I can still trade. I can still concentrate and trade. Some people cannot do that. So they got to know that about themselves. Some I can trade off my phone. I can trade wherever I want to be, where some people can't do that. Some people cannot trade off their phone. So they got to know, you got to know your niche. You got to know who you are. And as you're knowing who you are, you got to be that person as often as you can. You could slip up from time to time, but be that person to get to the consistency. Does that make sense? Because in the beginning, this is what your graph's going to look like. Can I be honest? In the beginning, it's going to feel like you're winning. And then you're going to realize you're not making money. It's just kind of going up and down. Like it's going to look like, oh, big wins. And then I'm like, and then it's going to look like this downtrend. And it don't feel like a downtrend at first until you blow your accounts or you're just like down and you're like, dang, I did have $1,000 when I started and now it's down to like 400. What am I doing? So it's going to look like this because what you're doing is you're learning both. You're learning you're learning in knowledge of what strategy to use, how to follow confirmations, and you're learning your discipline, right? So you're learning your psychology, your discipline. And I always say this. So it's going to look like this if you were to put this on a graph. When I first started, oh, y'all don't want to see my graph when I first started. Because when I attached that thing, I said, ooh, that thing is ugly. But you look kind of crazy. And it wasn't in an uptrend. And then you're going to get to a place where I call it the break even phase. You're gonna have good wins, you're gonna have a little bit of losses, but you're gonna kind of be like winning, okay, but you're staying pretty steady. It's not doing nothing too crazy, but it's not, you're kind of like just staying in the break even phase is what I like to call it. Just because you're a little bit up, you might lose a little bit, might be, but it's pretty much break even. And what's happening here is you're gaining knowledge, so you're getting pretty good at the markets, you're getting pretty good at the skill, but you're still struggling in your discipline. So you have the knowledge down. The discipline's a little struggle. And then, and I'm talking long term. I'm not talking like for the week, guys. And then you're going to get to this place. And this is the place where I know all of you guys can get to, where it's going to be like small losses, but you're going to be up because now you've gained. Don't this look more like what we're all going to be doing? And we're going to be making withdrawals in the process. Don't that look like an uptrend? That's what we're going to lose sometimes. Right? We're going to lose sometimes, but we're going to be in that uptrend. It's going to be like, okay, I lost a little bit, up, moving. I lost, but hey, I'm still growing. Even if it's like little by little, I'm inching this thing up. And that is where you have gotten inside of your trading to where you have gotten not just your knowledge down, right? Not just your edge. You have gotten both your psychology. So you're very disciplined and you're knowledgeable. And that is the place that I believe, and I say this very confidently, that all of you guys will get to. So when you think of where you're at inside the markets, just think like, you know what? Appreciate every little inch of growth that you're doing. Because in the beginning, it was this for me. I was gambling. I was doing all types of stuff. Don't yeah, y'all, I was crazy. I was out of my mind, but I was just like, yo, there's so much money to be made. I could do this, I could do this. Oh, the trading is just fun. Trading was like a game, but I was like playing the game the wrong way, right? I was playing the game absolutely any gamer would kill me. Like I was playing the game the wrong way. I was just like, hey, I'm just gonna get on here and I'm just gonna press some buttons and do nothing with it, but I'm just pressing buttons because I didn't have knowledge or discipline, right? I just didn't have neither. So as you gain your knowledge, right, give yourself grace. Like what I didn't know before, I now know. I didn't know what a pip was before. I didn't know that where to put my stop losses before. I know now. I know how to enter. I'm now learning what candles are and how they move. So every inch is you're just adding to that knowledge toolbar, right? And you're not beating yourself up through the process because we like to beat ourselves up when we're here, and we even like to beat ourselves up here because in this phase we feel like we've been doing this for so long, I should be here now, and we're constantly always moving the needle of where we should be on a timestamp, and everybody grows at a different pace, everybody learns at a different pace, but you should be appreciating that you're no longer here. You're actually knowledgeable. You actually can understand the markets. You actually know what these price points are. You know what the candlesticks are doing. You know what you're looking for. So now you're gaining that knowledge. We just got to work on the accountability to write down the discipline so that we can get here. We got to get the trading plan and the trading journal documented so we can get here. But once we get both, that's when we start to make long-term success, long-term growth. Y'all see these, I wasn't gonna do it to y'all, but y'all see these, y'all see those images? Do you see this? That's growth, long-term growth. That's over a course of a year. Do you want your accounts to look like that over time? Do you think your accounts can look like that over time? I can tell you they will. I can tell you they will. See that y'all can't see this part over here, but there's stats that back up what I'm telling you and teaching you guys. If you do it, you will get here. Because guess what I did? I did it too. But it started with writing a trading plan down. It started with taking myself accountability from myself and saying, the definition of sanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So I had to start taking accountability of the things I was doing wrong in the markets and start writing down so I can see my bad habits and then start creating the solution to the bad habits. So when I started knowing I'm impatient, hey, Nina, put some alerts, put some pending orders so that I'm not sitting here so I don't make those errors. You're going to lose. Y'all see, like I lose, but how I lose is very minimal to how I win. I know my average risk to reward ratio on my trade ideas are an average of a 1 to 6. So that puts me at a good position. So even if I have a bad week, it's not killing my account because I know my R to R's are on average. Some are more sometimes a little bit less, but 1 to 6. Now I know on average I catch 331 pips. Average. I know that. So now I know who's scared of losing. Versus are 50 pips. I'm not scared to lose. I averaged 300 pips. So now I'm not scared to lose anymore. Now, as long as I'm staying in risk management, as long as I'm doing what I need to do, as far as I'm following my confirmations, now I know long-term profitability is already, the money's already in the bag. We got the money in the bank. We just gotta follow the plan. Sometimes we don't follow the plan, and that's why the money's not in the bank yet. But as long as we follow the plan and we start taking accountability and we start learning ourselves and we start learning who we are, this is the result of long-term success. And I can confidently put this in front of you. Most people can't, but I can. I can do it over and over and over again. If you see it on my social media, I do it over and over and over again. And I've been doing this for years. So I want to tell you guys that if I did it, you can do it. If you just follow the play, follow the plan, start making a trading plan, start doing the boring things, start learning, like, where am I entering? Okay, I got to tweak where I'm getting in at. I got to tweak. Okay, maybe I might be over leveraging on my accounts. Let me not do that anymore. Let me just stay consistent in my lot sizes until I feel comfortable to start increasing those lot sizes. Start building a strategic plan around how you're going to grow your capital and what that looks like long term. So stop beating yourself up that you ain't the perfect trader. Surprise, surprise, neither am I. Nobody is. But you're not. Replace the P. Like, I don't want to be a perfect trader. I want to be a profitable one. I don't want to be a perfect trader. That doesn't do anything for me. Being a perfect trader doesn't do anything but lift your ego to another skyrocket. And people with egos don't make money anyway. But it builds your ego up. In trading, it's so easy to get ego. It is. I'm sorry, it's the truth. Stop pumping your ego up and just start looking at, okay, how do I get myself to a profitable place? How can I don't want to be perfect. I can care less about being perfect. I want to be profitable. What does that look like for me? For me, I'm averaging this R to R, and I'm going to stick to that. I'm doing this amount of pips on average. I'm going to stick to that. I'm going to do this because this is my formula that's helping me win. This is the formula that's getting me to the next level. This is the formula that when I say I do what I do, I'm going to do it every single time, right? This is the formula that when I get inside the markets, it works. When I get inside the markets, it works. When I'm doing this, it works. That's why I can give trade ideas, because I know what I'm doing over and over again. As long as I follow it, I don't even care that I lose. And I get to lose publicly all the time. Like, all the time I get to lose publicly, but I learned I wanted my freedom. I had to learn this so I can get my freedom. Anybody want freedom? Y'all want freedom? Because I wanted freedom when I started trading. I love making money, but I wanted freedom. I wanted to be able to go see my horses race while I'm still giving y'all trade ideas. I wanted to confidently be able to do this while I was getting on a flight because I like traveling. I wanted to do this while I'm going to be able to go pick up my kids so I can still impact lives and I can still help people, but now I can do this at my freedom, away. and I can do it in my sleep, right? A lot of us want to make money in our sleep. I can do it in my sleep because I know that, hey, I know what I'm risking every single time. It's not that hard anymore. It doesn't hurt anymore. I can do this over and over again because I am successful. I am going to get to that place where I'm going to win every single time in my way, right? In my error, and how I want to win. Is you're not going to win perfectly every time, but losing sometimes is a win. Putting a stop loss and the trade hitting stop loss actually is a win sometimes because you knew at least I protected my account. At least I didn't over leverage my account. I didn't kill my account. I didn't say, oh, no, no stop loss. I didn't say none of that. I said, I'm going to do this consistently and I'm going to be okay with losing. And sometimes when you hit that stop loss and it just keeps going the other way, you know you was really wrong. I turn around and be like, thank God I used stop losses. That's a win. Sometimes losing is a win because you were just on the wrong side of the markets, and you got to start thinking like that so that you know I'm knowledgeable enough to know now that while somebody just blew their account because they're not knowledgeable, I'm aware and I'm putting stop losses, and this could have blew my account had I just not put a stop loss this time. But now it's a win because I listen to my rules. I follow my plan. And every time you follow your plan, it's a win. Doesn't matter if it wins or loses, it's a win. And you got to know that it's a win, and you're going to get there. You're going to get to a place where you're consistent. You're going to get to a place where it's going to look like an uptrend. You're going to get to a place where you're going to be so confident in what you're doing. You're going to follow those rules over and over and over again that if you do it enough, the results will be there like nothing. It seems very, very like easy for us, but it's not that it's easy. It's just we've done it so many times. Like somebody who goes and works out in the gym, like, but don't put me in the gym, guys. I'll die. Like, don't do it, please. You got to give me like little pieces, like little by little. You got to give me little by little. But somebody who works out all the time, it's easy to them. It's easy for them to lift X amount. It's easy for them to run X amount of miles. Like, don't make me run any miles because I might pass out in the first mile, and you're gonna be like, "What are we doing? We're just getting started." That's the warm up, right? Things that seem easy to everybody else is just because they've done it enough and over again that they built their stamina up. They built the stamina. So build your stamina up inside of the markets so that you guys can make money. And while you're making money, pay yourself. I don't care what that looks like. Everybody doesn't have big capital. That's okay. But pay yourself. When the market money is not real until you withdraw this in your bank account and you do something with it. You go on, I don't know, you pay your light bill, you put gas in your car, you take yourself out for dinner, you pay for a hotel for a weekend, whatever it is, until it's tangible and you can do something with it, it's really not real because it's just sitting in your account. It's just sitting there. But start making plans of, okay, at this marker, I'm going to withdraw this much percentage. If I made 50% on my account, okay, I'm going to withdraw at least 40% of that. I mean, 20% of that. If I did 40% of my account, I'll do 10% withdrawal, whatever that number looks like. Doesn't matter if it's $50. $50 can, thank you, trading, for filling my gas tank up. Thank you. I didn't have to do it. I didn't have to go work that extra to put that in the car. I didn't have to go work this to pay for that trip, whatever it is. Everything starts small before it gets big. So just think about it. If you're doing it with that 1 0, so if it's $10, just add another zero. As you're building capital, you're going to get to from $10 a day, you're going to make $100. And from 100, it's going to be 1,000. From 1,000, it'll turn into 10,000 a day. And from 10,000 a day, it'll turn into six figures a day. That's really how it works. So whatever you're doing in the small, don't ever not appreciate your small wins. Whatever you're doing in the small, as long as you're doing that consistently, all you're going to do is just add a zero to it. I don't ever despise small beginnings. I had small capital when I first started, and I tell you, that thing has compounded over and over and over again. That them $10 wins just added more zeros. And that's all you got to do. So whatever you're doing right now that you get consistent in, you got to just keep doing it because you just got to know as this equity builds, I'm just adding a zero. So whatever that looks like, you're just adding a zero at that point. So I appreciate you guys for taking the time with me. Thank you, Gil, for having me. I appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the lesson. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed the session of how to get to where your skill set and your discipline can start to come together, and start making yourself accountable. Start writing those things down. Start tracking yourself so that you can get to a place of where you want to be and get to a place where you need to be, right? So you can make those withdrawals and make this real for you and your family. And that's all I want for all of you guys, is to make this real for you and your family, like I've been able to do for me and my family. So I thank you guys so much. Back to you, Gail.
For sure, familia. I just put some sevens in the chat, put some hearts, some fire emojis for Nina. Honestly, I'm over here taking massive notes and it's hitting breakthrough. So, like I said at the beginning, guys, make sure we take the information and we apply it. Go into the chats, let people know something that you learned from today. And really excited for what's to come. And appreciate you, Nina, for taking the time to do this. Honestly, it's amazing every time you do a call. Every time I'm on a session with you, I always learn something different to get to that next level. I know many people here did as well. So you guys have a great evening, great afternoon. Just make sure to apply it. Just have a great trading week, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.